You're welcome. We are live. Oh, 1 second. Okay,
We're good to start, Summer.
you can start. Yes.
All right. I'd like to call the meeting to order. It is February 14th, 2024. I'm just going to do a quick roll call and see all who's here in attendance. Um, Larissa seems like Larissa isn't here at the moment. Did she send an email earlier about coming late or not being able to attend?
No, I'm texting her right now.
Okay. Um, John,
Here, John Fumi's here.
Katie said she wasn't going to be able to attend because of a work conflict. Um, Eric, seems like Eric's not here. Uh, Stephanie or Leo,
Present.
um, Jessica,
Present.
Roberta,
Present.
Megan.
Here.
All right, and Summer's here. So it seems like we're missing Larissa, Eric, and Katie. All right, let's go ahead and get started looking at the agenda. So I am going to just share my screen really quick so that everyone can see. Can everyone see my screen okay?
Mm-hmm.
All right. So we get a motion to approve the minutes from January 10th, 2023. If everyone's been able to review the meeting minutes.
I so move that we approve the minutes from Wednesday, January the 10th.
Right, so Roberta motioned to approve. Can I get a second?
Jessica seconds.
All right, Jessica Travis seconds the motion. All else in favor, say aye.
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 Great, looks like we have a quorum. So that means the meeting minutes from January 10th, 2023 board meeting are approved. Looks like we're gonna get into old business. So in terms of old business, we have the RFP for the traffic signal boxes. Let's discuss the RFP before going into the call for artists. Was everyone able to open up and look at the RFP from legal that was sent over? In my view, it looked almost identical. I actually didn't see any significant changes. Summer, were there any significant changes to RFP? I didn't notice any off bat.
There were not any changes, but what I wanted to ask you was, since we have people present, can we just jump into the presentations so that we're not holding them up for the rest of the day?
Yeah,
We can
for
start
sure.
with
Is this related to?
Michelle and David with the
Okay.
Akron Park signage, and then Mike Myers can talk about um, the traffic intersections. If that's
So
okay.
before they do that, I thought I sent you an email, and I'm double checking, but who knows? But I don't think that signage and wayfinding is part of our purview.
That's correct. But for some reason, Mayor Malik wanted them to present this because it's on public land. So I'm assuming he may want our feedback on it. Public land and public dollars.
Okay. Huh. Okay.
So we're not making any approvals in terms of the commission since outside of my purview. We're just providing feedback. Is that how I understand it? Correct?
Yeah, because technically, when there is a project that is not done by an artist, we don't really approve that type of stuff. And this art, Michelle, correct me if I'm wrong, this art is being done by a company, like a designing firm, not an artist.
So
David can go over the background on what was done. I would say it's sign design. I would not say it's art. but we were asked to present it. And, David can go through the process that we went through and show you our signage plan.
Okay. So I wonder if this isn't really more for engineering or, okay.
Well, and he's got some background too. It has gone
Great.
through urban design.
Okay, super. Thanks.
I'll stop sharing, so transfer control over to whoever wants to speak first.
Yeah, if we're gonna jump into the sign standards, I can start with that. My name is David Clapp. I'm with the City of Akron Engineering Bureau in the Design Division. Back in 2021, we started to really look at investing into our parks and pools and community centers. And as part of that, we wanted to give the sign standards a refresh. A secondary benefit to that is the current wooden signs, the ones that are routed out and sort of reliefed, carved into the wood, can no longer be maintained or created by parks maintenance. The equipment that maintained those signs and built those signs is very old and costly to repair once it does break. So with that, we solicited a few proposals from design firms to update the standards. We got a couple proposals, we reviewed those, and we selected Guide Studios to update the standards. Guide is a design firm that does a lot of graphic design, signage, that sort of stuff. They had previously done the downtown wayfinding sign standards and the Ohio Neary Canalway sign standards. So they were familiar with Akron, familiar with the process and what we were looking for. So once we selected them, we basically had a kickoff meeting where we built two teams. We had a core team to manage the day-to-day process of updating the sign standards and working with Guide. And then we had a steering committee with representatives from a lot of different stakeholder groups. So on that steering committee, we had Jim Ashley from Long Range Planning, Bridget Ambrisco from Akron Parks Collaborative, myself from Engineering, John Malish, the Parks Maintenance Superintendent, Brittany Skrimokal from Recreation and Parks, the manager over there, Dan Rice from Ohio Neary Canalway, and then Michelle DeFiore from Development Design Engineering. So with those teams set and the scope of what Guide was going to do also set, we then had a city tour, basically, of to gather what the existing signs that we had in our parks, those existing standards and conditions. That also let us know what sort of signs we needed to make. Was it just the ID signs? Was it directional signs, rule signs in all the iterations? We also toured the two different sign shops that the city had at the time. So we had a sign shop for parks maintenance and we had a sign shop in traffic engineering. And they had a decent amount of overlap, but we were looking at what we can do to make sure that they can maintain these signs moving forward. After that point, we had a few different meetings and design reviews as we went through in 2021 leading into 2022, I believe. So we did a framework and concept where we were looking at what different style of signs we wanted to do, sort of picking out design buzzwords, if you will. So some of the ones that Guide came up with for us to select from were natural, urban, strong, timeless, colorful, bright, active, modern, and a few others. We ended up going with natural, strong, modern, color, and timeless as sort of design framework. We went through 30% design and review, 60% design and review, 90% design and review, 100% design and review. After the 100%, between 90 and 100%, we ordered some paint samples to see if we can get the colors actually in person so that it wasn't just a PDF printed off that we were going off of with. And we also ordered 2 full-size mock-ups to see how the signs would look full scale with the final different materials and whatnot. The colors that we used that we based it off of was from the Parks and Recreation logos that they had, that blue and green logo. We started with that. After we got the 100% review and made a few changes, we got our final standards, and those have been updated slightly because we got those standards in like November of 2022, and they've been updated slightly as we've tried to implement them, or tried to come up with a process to implement the signs. Mayor Horgan has reviewed these at a couple of his cabinet meetings throughout the process as well. We did go to Urban Design and Historic Preservation and get their review and approval. And then we went back to Mayor Malik with his new cabinet to get his review and approval before we start trying to implement these signs as well. So that was a basic process of what we did. Michelle, did I miss anything as I ran through that quickly?
No, I don't think so.
Okay. I can share my screen with some of the actual standards if we want to look at that now, or I can, if you have questions, please let me know.
David, I just had a quick question. Will the mayor's name be on all of the signs like it was before?
The mayor's name is currently on a good portion of the signs. I won't say all the signs because they're one of the things that we found was that we had a lot of different versions of the signs out existing right now. So we consolidated all of those, and a good portion will have the mayor's name on it.
So it'll have to be changed to the new mayor then?
Yeah.
Okay.
One of the things that we did, sort of the guiding principles we had with these signs, since we were trying to get it updated to be easier maintained because the current signs can't be maintained, was that sort of maintenance and upkeep and maintenance and operation upkeep for the signs, so that most of the signs can be printed in-house at our traffic engineering sign shop. And when if we need to update the mayor's name, they can essentially print off a new sticker and go out and stick it up without having to print off a whole new sign, because some of the signs get fairly large. Right. And we'll.
Are we talking about the signs that like are at parks and stuff?
Yes.
Okay, so you're trying to replace those signs to add the new mayor's name and things?
Not necessarily to add the new mayor's name, but to replace the existing signs. The wooden, one of the signs that would be replacing is the wooden ID signs. So the ones that say what the park name is, where it's located. Update those so that when you see the sign, you know exactly that it's a City of Akron park. It's not like a metro park. It's not the national park. You know where the park is located, what the park is actually named. And those are consistent across the board. You don't have, because like the park sign down at Summit Lake is different than the park sign over at Elizabeth Park and over at Hardesty Park and Reservoir Park. They're all different, and we just can't maintain those. So there's a lack of consistency and lack of being able to, a lack of branding and a lack of being able to maintain it.
Yeah. Okay, and my second question would be, when I saw those signs, the one that comes to mind for me is the one over there. Is that East Exchange, East Market, Mason Park?
Mm-hmm.
When I think of that one, I think it had what's his name? It started with a P. I forget it. I gotta say his name. Pasquale. I remember him. I remember his name be on there. So when I saw those signs, I used to think that like the mayor like approved like something on it. So I thought like when we saw their names on it, it was like this mayor came this year to approve cleanup or added a park or something. So we're
Yeah.
not like taking credit from nobody, are we?
No. No, as I understand it, those mayors' names were just supposed to be updated
Okay.
whenever we got a new mayor, but because it's basically like a 1940s version of a CNC machine that we were using to make those signs, and it finally broke to the point where it's more expensive to repair it than it is to buy a new sign printing machine.
Okay. Got it.
Mhm. I'll share my screen real quick. You can see some of these. Right. Did that work for everyone?
Can see it fine.
Cool. So yes, this is the document that we're going to have for assigned standards. Guide put this together following sort of their standard of what a signed standard packet needs to look like. So there's some boilerplate uh, instructions in here. But it lays out things like why we're doing, what the brand and purpose of this sign stuff is, making sure that, we're using all the same logo and the same file for the logos, lays out these colors, and they give specific versions of these colors so you can get them actually printed correctly. And if you know the Rex and Park, nope, Parks and Rec logo, you can sort of see where some of the green and blue came from. Um, you know, a standardized font, standardized seals. As you can see, like some of these documents do need to be updated a little bit and have been updated as we go. But yeah, just trying to standardize it basically as we go through. Um, so we have a couple different versions, groups of signs, park identification structures, park information and wayfinding. And then for the ID signs, these are big ones that actually say where the park is. The monument signs are basically the only ones that we cannot create in-house and would be done at special circumstances. And these are the only signs at this point that have to go through and get a zoning
Approval.
approval. Thank you. Because they are too big and have extra bobs. So like LEDs have to go through zoning. Zoning has rules where you can't have a sign over 18 square feet. So we made sure to reduce all the other signs to be within those, so we don't have to go through each park and get a zoning approval. Because if you didn't know, Akron has on the order of 180 city parks. So a rather large undertaking. We have 2 post-mounted ID signs, a bigger sign so that at sort of bigger parks where you need to just have a bigger sign so people can see it, if you're driving on a street and it's a higher speed limit, you need to have bigger letters, basically. Smaller sign for smaller parks. Vertical sign in that same monument style, which is built up. If we want to have a big monument sign but don't have space for a horizontal sign. At this point, no park is identified to be. We don't have any locations where we're going to want to use the vertical signs. Then we have sort of the miscellaneous structure identification. So building letters, building entrances, courts, some of the room amenities. We have park information. So if we have trails and stuff, like at Higher Lions, we can have a trail identification map. We have our park rules. One of the things we did with the park rules is make it a more welcoming tone for those rules. So it's not, you can't do this, you can't do this, you can't do this. It's like, you can do this, please do this, please pick up after your dog versus don't leave dog waste on the ground type of stuff. Try to make it as welcoming as possible. Interpretive signs. So if there's anything like local history that we want to include or talk about, we have that sort of template. Donor plaques. Direction wayfinding signs so that you can actually find these signs from some of the more hidden ones. So like Lions Park, if you don't know where that is, you can't find it. We have a standard now where we can put these signs out on the street and direct you to it, both vehicle size and pedestrian size. And then we get into the actual nuts and bolts of these different signs. So for the monument sign, you can see how it's built up. It's rather thick, built up out of aluminum panels. On this one in particular, the sign with like the mayor's name, this is a removable panel. So if we have to update that, we can just update this one panel and not the entire sign to save us some money. LED version. These are going to be your standard sort of signs for park identification. It's 2 pieces of aluminum that have a printed vinyl sticker basically put on it, sandwiched back to back over a 4x4 aluminum post, and then that makes up a double-sided sign. And we would keep it. This fits within zoning's requirements in terms of total height and square foot requirements. And, so 8 by 3.4. A slightly smaller sign when we don't have the space for it. The standards do allow us to mount it at, it doesn't have to be on posts. We can do it in an existing special enclosure. I think the Good Park golf course is where we pulled this from. Vertical one. Concession stands. Basic, just keep everything consistent as we go through. And you can see the motif of the sort of waves at the top in the green as we go through. Using icons on the trails to denote what you can do on these trails. Is it a biking trail? Is it a walking trail? Can you not bike? Can you bring your dogs on it? Because we also intend to have these signs to be used at some of our bike trails, like the Rubber City Heritage Trail, to bring that in as well. Trail maps, park rules. These aren't the exact rules that we have right now because we've went through a review process with law, the service director, all the parks people to get these accurate and up to date. But make sure that we have standardized park rules through our parks.
Hey,
same thing for
David.
basketball courts.
Has font size been considered as far as accessibility? Has there been like an accessibility audit done on this entire process?
I don't know if we did an official accessibility audit, but that was something that we were talking about as we went through the design process with Guide, being that we need to make sure that these signs are readable to as most people as we can, so we made sure the contrast was high and the sign size was large enough and appropriate.
But through that process, is anyone relying on any established benchmarks just to be sure, or is it just people's own? There should be some specific guidelines or like established guidelines versus somebody saying, "Oh yeah, I'm sure that's fine," or "That's a contrast," or something of that sort.
Yeah, so that's where we relied on Guide to be the experts in this field of what needs to be. Off the top of my head, I can't remember what those exact standards were, but I can say that we didn't just go with gut.
Okay. All I'm concerned is that this third party is keeping that in mind, or has these established.
Yeah, that was one of the reasons.
That too. If you look at the bottom of like the right sign, for example, there's a lot of white space, which is nice for the padding, the typography. But just from an accessibility standpoint, like that font probably could be like a larger size to like maximize the readability from a certain sight distance. I know like there's a lot of concepts in traffic engineering where there's literal sight distances where someone's
Yeah.
intended to be able to read from for different, you know, standard
Yes.
vision. So those kinds of things,
Yeah.
definitely like really good to consider.
And we did consider that. That's more important on the, I won't say more important, but the traffic sign rules definitely came into play on the signs that were meant to be viewed from vehicles. This one in particular is a park rule sign in the park, so you'd
Yeah.
walk up
Oh,
and
yeah, I
read
got
it.
that part. I was just comparing the fact that there's standards in traffic engineering manuals and stuff that
Hmm.
are kind of like similar to what you could maybe see. There might be some sort of accessibility standard for sight distance for just standing in front of a sign within a park as well. I wasn't sure what standards guide referred to as experts, because generally, even if you contract a third party firm, I didn't know if they cited any experts for something like that as well. I'd be interested to see what it was if it exists, just for our
Okay.
reference as well, to be honest.
Sure.
Their
Hey,
sign
really quick, not
specifications, their sign specifications on page 40 of this document do talk about ADA accessibility guidelines. I did not review all of the specs that are here, but there are regulatory requirements that they also state and relate to ADA guidelines.
Awesome.
Is this color palette, is it like set in stone? Or is we have opportunity to change the color palette?
This was based on the correlation with the Akron Recreation and Parks logo.
Summer, were you trying to make a comment as well?
Well,
Oh,
yeah, I
you
was
got
just going
cut
to
off.
say, could we maybe take about 5 more minutes on this and then you guys can ask your questions? Just because we have another person and we have a lot on our agenda, if you don't
Mhm,
mind.
for sure.
Yeah.
And I just had one more comment. It would be nice on those signs if you had room or space enough for the individual parks to put down programs and events so that they have an opportunity to advertise on those signs.
Okay.
Or even a QR code where they can just scan it and go to keep updates.
Also, one more question. Since we are a welcoming city, um, are any of these signage will be in like any other language than just English? Or if we put signage like in North Hill,
Hmm.
are we able to maybe um sorry, my video's not on. Are we able maybe to put another language on our signage to make it welcoming for everyone?
Sure. We have not talked about signs in other languages at this point, but that is a good point
Yeah,
that we can look
because we want the
into.
community to be able to utilize it, right, in all neighborhoods and
Absolutely.
areas. In our North Hill community, even though we have great Asia Inc. and International Institute and North Hill CDC working with all of our refugees and all of our international citizen residents of Akron, we
Hmm.
want them to be able to take advantage of it and take their kids and let them know that this is an open space and not just, locked in for certain people.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Okay. Yeah. Okay. So I heard space to advertise for other events at the parks, maybe a QR code, um, printing signs in other languages, uh, you know, are the colors set in stone? And then what other standards did we use for some of the visibility? Okay. Did I miss any other comments?
Just a positive comment. I think they look great. I really like the color palette, some green and everything. So the typography looks very clean, high contrast, which was great to see. So
Thank you. Yeah. Appreciate that. We've been working on it for a little bit of time at this point. So.
all right. Anyone else have any other comments before we wrap up and move to the next speaker?
I think Megan said things like ongoing events, QR codes, other languages can often be put on literature boards if the park will have those. My other thing covers it. I can't see the other end. Megan, do you want to just speak to it or?
Sure. I love all of these comments, suggestions, but things like ongoing events, QR codes, and all of these things that can be put in other languages can often be put on like a literature board that can be switched out anytime there is these like changing events. So if these parks can be given a literature board next to or on their sign, that's probably like a better solution to this than like putting some of these directly on the signage. Just a suggestion. But I think David and Michelle probably already know that. But thanks.
You're talking about like a literature board, like a kiosk?
Yeah.
Okay.
Right. We don't have any additional comments. David, Michelle, really appreciate you stopping, presenting the sign documentation. I'm definitely going to take another look at it. I'm sure like email or provide Summer with any additional feedback I have. I'm sure everyone else feels open to the same.
Thank you all.
Yeah, thank you.
And like Summer was saying, feel free to jump off, or if you don't want to stay on, it's also live to watch. It's up to you. So
thank you.
Yep, thank you.
We have Mike Myers from the city of Akron. You all had asked for the busiest intersections in the city of Akron. Mike is amazing at what he does. So he's always my go-to guy to make the signs or the prints and things like that. So Mike, I'll let you get started if you like. You're on speaker.
Mike, you might be muted.
You're on mute.
Yeah. There we go. Thank you, Summer, for your kind words. I'm Mike Meyer. I work in the planning department here for the city of Akron. A good part of my job responsibilities include geographic information systems and mapping and maintaining geographic data and so forth. So probably after your last meeting, Summer and I got together, and Summer asked for a map, or actually Summer asked for the I think she said, first of all, the 10 highest traffic locations that were close to traffic signal boxes. And I said, sure, Summer, let me just look into that. And so I was able to produce some maps and data that you can look at. I'm going to share my screen, and hopefully you can, hopefully I'm doing this right. Can you see that?
Still loading. Yeah, I can see
little
it.
Yellow dots there. So what you're looking at is an aerial view of Akron, and all those yellow points, and I can zoom in and zoom out. All those yellow points are the location of ground traffic boxes. And for instance, I can just zoom way in on one here in Highland Square. We have one right on the corner of Portage Path and West Market, and here's another one right by the library. So I went through and pinpointed all those locations. I was provided with a list from traffic engineering. In addition to that, I went online and downloaded average daily traffic counts from Ohio Department of Transportation. These were the latest counts they had for all the main streets in Akron. I filtered out highways just because highways did not seem to be applicable. And here again, if I zoom in on a place such as Wallhaven, the traffic counts come up. Here we have on West Market 17,800 vehicles per day. On this section of West Market, on North Hawkins, 9,700 some odd. South of that, we have 9,500 some odd, and then here at the Exchange Street in West Market, those vehicles based on turning or however the vehicles are moving. We have almost 10,000 here on West Market and just over 8,000 on East Exchange. So that's kind of how that
is this
works.
the Wallhaven area?
This one is the Wallhaven area.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah, this is by Whole Foods, right? That's Whole Foods right there, and where Arnie's used to be, and the Piata and Circle K.
Yes, this is Hardesty Park.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So anyway, what I did was I provided Summer with about 30 different locations for her to look at and present and to review. This is kind of the methodology for you all to understand. I pulled out the top traffic locations, and I also pulled out a few others, places within the city that seemed important, such as a place like Kenmore Boulevard, where the traffic counts might not be as high. Here along Kenmore Boulevard, if you can see that, we have traffic counts around 5,000 to 6,000. So they're not the highest, but it is definitely an important part of Ward 9. So I wanted to make sure that was considered as well, and I gave those to Summer in my report. I don't know where you want me to go from here, Summer. I did provide Summer with those locations if you want to take a look at some of these specific locations. Another thing I tried to provide Summer with was a number of locations in each ward, because the top 10 locations aren't exactly spread out through the city, but knowing council people and some projects such as this, they would probably like to spread the wealth. So I also provided some locations in every ward. So I don't think it's my job to decide where these are going to go, but I am certainly happy to answer questions, and if there's any place you want to take a look at specifically, I have no problem sharing that information.
Does anyone have any questions regarding this? In your email, there's like probably 30 pages, just one big document. It shows all the wards where the highest traffic count is. So as Mike explained it when he showed you, like right there at Wallhaven, you have parts of Exchange, you have Hawkins, you have Market, Hawkins, all of those streets have traffic coming in and out. And then when you add it up, you kind of get the grand total of how many people really go through those sites. So that will tell, you where you get the most visibility for the traffic box.
That can make a lot of sense.
One thing I do want to say about this, there may be, and I'm not driving around the city, there may be some areas where you have a high traffic counts, but the visibility of that box might not be so advantageous. And so I would recommend that when you do choose sites, to go out in the field and verify that there's going to be a good amount of visibility, or there isn't a tree in the way, or there isn't something growing over it. I live near this area, so I know this box in Wallhaven is highly visible. But there may be some others that are not. So it's something to consider before you make your final decision.
Awesome. Thank you, Mike. Anyone have any specific questions? I'm going to take that as the silence and lack of chats that I see. as a no. Mike, really appreciate your time.
Hey, I'm more happy to help. This is what I do. I enjoy doing this type of thing. So if, if anybody has any suggestions or comments, let Summer know and she'll get back with me and I can provide more information if necessary. Okay?
Sure. Thank you so much.
All
Thank you,
right.
Mike,
You're
for
welcome.
everything
You're
Appreciate
welcome.
you.
Everybody have a good evening.
too.
You as well. All right. Let's
I'm still showing your screen.
yeah.
Okay.
All right, here. Let me go. I'm gonna go ahead and share my screen again. So everyone can see. All right, so let's move on to old business. So did everyone get a chance to read the RFP for the traffic signal boxes that Summer had sent out? I think we discussed there weren't any changes initially, is what we said before speakers. So we just need a final quorum, Summer, on the RFP to send out.
Well, Jessica just jumped off
Uh-huh.
and now we don't have quorum. Hold on.
Okay.
Summer, remind me of what's the range of a quorum? Because
Out
there's
of 9 people, it'd be 5.
so we have 5 still here.
So we have
No, you wait. 1, 2, 3, 4. Oh, you're right. Okay.
3,
Okay.
4,
We have
5.
quorum. Yes.
Okay. 1, 2. Yep. Great. So if everyone is okay with the RFP, again, no changes from the last time. So it's essentially the RFP that we approved before, pending, the consideration that there may be a cover page and there's 2 images, I believe, at the top, one with a example, covered or wrapped traffic box. If everyone is okay with that, if I could get a motion to approve the RFP for the traffic signal boxes approved by the legal team.
So moved.
I second it, Roberta.
Great. So Ron, and then Roberta also seconded it. So we have a quorum. Anyone else disagree? If you don't, say aye. Megan, etc.
Aye.
To talk if we disagree.
Just
You
all
said
in
what, Megan?
Are we supposed to say aye if we disagree or
If
No,
you
you can say
if you motion to approve, say aye.
Aye.
sorry. Aye, yes. Sorry,
Okay.
the way you said it confused me. So I didn't okay. Aye.
All right. Yep, no problem. All
then
right.
if you also can motion, just trying to think of the Robert rules, any nays. And then if someone disagreed, then they can say nay, and then you can open it up for conversation.
Right. I was just trying to make sure everyone's cool with it. Anyone had any additional comments? It sounds like we have a quorum. So we approved the RFP traffic signal box from legal. So Summer, that should go out sometime soon to the public through a press release.
Yes, it should go out
Okay.
sometime next week, just because there's no work on Monday. Everybody is, trying
Okay.
to get everything done for the week. So yes, so we just need a cover page. I put those photos on there just because I thought it needed a little bit more. And I also cited where I got the artwork from. Those are vinyl wraps also. So yeah, it should go out hopefully next week.
Great. Appreciate it. Appreciate all the work of everyone giving feedback for that as well. So I'm glad we were able to get that out during the meeting.
Now, quick question for you. Sorry.
Yeah.
Chair, on our minutes, we have talked about 45 days out. The date that I put on the traffic signal boxes, for the RFP to return, it was March 22nd. I feel like that was enough time. That way you can all review the RFPs before our next meeting.
That sounds fine to me from now. It's about a month, a little bit over a month time.
A
Is
little
that
bit over a
correct?
month.
Or, yeah.
Okay.
Does anyone else have any comments on that? Okay. Great. So, we also have this call for artists. I know that we went through several rounds of comments. I got comments from almost everybody. I think people I didn't get comments from, I don't remember if Larissa replied, but I got comments from Megan, Jessica, Katie, Leo, Eric. And so, Roberta or John, were you able to get a chance to look at the call for artists? Do you have any comments on it? Would you like to review?
Oh, it looked okay to me. And
Okay.
yeah, from what I saw in there.
And I'm also okay with it as well.
Okay. I definitely I pulled Jessica's statement. I know Jessica said she had left. I pulled Jessica's statement that she said in her first reply for the one pager, and you see everything else was intended to go on the submittable. Things that I added from that very first revision that I think everyone reviewed, that extra considerations might apply for photography to ensure quality. Um, Preferences for neighborhoods in which you would like to have your work displayed. And I don't know if I want to open up a discourse on this too much, or if we want to go to approve the call of artists now since we have a quorum, but I changed this wording to say portfolio pieces or previously created work proposed for a rep. So I was opening it up to people who might want to submit something that they already created. So example, like a photographer who already has a photo that they think might be in the right format and size requirements might want to submit that versus somebody might want to create an original piece. And then I also highlighted the section. It actually was in there originally, but I forgot to highlight it. But participating artists will receive a single stipend of some amount per selected piece to support their participation in the project. So the one thing that we have to decide is the amount remaining after the RFP for the traffic signal boxes, that contract work and the vinyl wraps. What amount would we want to provide as a stipend, giving the remaining budget that we have? And so we had was it the 52K allocated towards, or was it the 48K
It was
allocated
48.
towards? So we have 52K left over. And then I think we had the 35K allocated towards the traffic box project. And so I believe that leaves 17K left over. And we were talking about maintaining some of that fund for maintenance projects, just to have it in case there's any like maintenance needs that come up for public art pieces where we want to be able to use that funding. So we just need to start a discourse about how to split that up. I didn't put any time into thinking about the best way to split that up. And honestly, I'm not sure that it's going to be easy to come up with an amount until we know the amount of traffic boxes and whether the stipend is going to be per traffic box or just for per artist. I don't know what everyone's comments are on those considerations.
The stipend is going to have to go toward the amount of work that the artist is
For
doing.
sure.
Unless they're using the same design on numerous boxes, which I don't think we want. I guess that needs to be considered.
Yeah.
And we're going to have to put what the stipend is upfront in this call for artists. And then I'm going to do a quick search here of there's a resource that we use at the museum that I can see if this falls into that category, but it should. So give me a second, I'll look that up.
Thank you. I also agree with the per selected piece. That was the language I used from the call for artists. Kind of agree that if a piece is reused multiple times, maybe that warrants one stipend versus counting it per traffic box. Any other comments, Roberta? No?
Oh, sorry. I was just thinking like if one person like did flowers, they might be such a beautiful arrangement that we'd want them in different sections of the city. So it might be one artist that's doing several boxes that could fit in different areas.
I agree with that. Some are going to be definitely like not ward specific, so maybe they could go in more than one ward. Megan, do you have any comments?
I was trying to think. I
Mhm.
kind of want like more information about the how much
How many
vinyling.
traffic boxes or
Yeah,
yeah,
I'm sorry. I want more information first. I'm sorry.
yeah, it's hard. Yeah, we
The
definitely
information is that they're looking
information.
for because you guys are all putting this together. So, you collaborate with each other.
Mhm.
So what do you think should be in there? You're on mute, Megan. Like, what do you feel is missing from here?
Mhm.
I mean, I'm still thinking. I wasn't like saying anything else yet. I
Gotcha.
just like still
Looking over it.
thinking.
Okay.
Yeah,
Yeah, I'm sorry.
Oh no,
you're
don't be
good.
sorry. I was just trying to, just trying to, make sure that we're all putting our thoughts
Yep.
into this because this is all of your creation. So
Mhm.
that's all. I didn't mean anything by it. I just, wanted to kind of pull it out of you, what you may be thinking, instead of holding back, because it looks like you have some things, that you may be interested in. I don't want you to hold back. I want you all to be, versed on whatever it is that you want
Sure.
to see in this.
John, I saw you come off mute. Did you find the document you were
Yeah,
looking for?
so yeah, my resource isn't a good match, so I can check in with a few
Okay.
staff members tomorrow. But I
Okay.
would be interested in knowing what if Stowe paid their artists
They did
for.
not. They didn't pay their artists.
That's what I thought you said before. So
Yeah, it was a community-led project, and the only people that got paid was the ones had to the companies to digitize it, to print it on the vinyl, and to wrap it.
just for
So they only
implementation.
used two companies.
Yeah, so tomorrow morning I can find out from a few members of my team of all of that. So to me, I mean, it's really more about them just the artist submitting their artwork and us paying them for the artwork, and then we're using it. So I'll check with the team tomorrow.
Appreciate the resources, John. Leo, did you have any comments on the call for artists specifically?
Nothing in addition at this time.
Gotcha. Right. Well, I think I integrated comments from everyone else who had replied, including Jessica. I definitely used her bit for the wording. So if everyone's okay with it. Summer, is this something we could get a quorum in? Or yeah, I see.
I just have a question. Well, you guys have quorum, so you're able to vote if you want, but I don't really like the word artist as being solid. Because we're opening this up to the community, it's kind of like they're like, oh, well, you want an artist, so you have to be an artist to participate in this. If it's going to be community, driven for artists and community,
So then it would be a call for art and
what you
eliminate,
guys, is that what you would call it?
And
like if,
participants maybe instead of artists as well. Or
like a call for art submissions, which eliminates a title of who's
Okay.
creating it, but it's still calling for art.
Yeah, it's just a call for art. In that case, we can pay whatever we want to pay.
I like that idea better. I feel like when you decouple like the artist term, I think this is also what I was saying about, I said professional. I didn't mean like to imply that someone was a professional, but career people versus any community member with the submission price and the expectations around like what the individual stipend might be. So I think it does fit better with participant and community members. So I agree with those. So is everyone okay with changing where it says artists to just like participants?
Yes, that sounds good.
Great. I think I'll do that. I'll just do like a find and replace. And then Summer, do you think this is something that warrants just like getting feedback from the rest of the commission, or what do you recommend in terms of timeline? John, what do you think? Roberta, Megan, Leo, just do we want to try and finalize this right now, or do we want to try and do another revision? Maybe do that thing where we can unofficially, we can vote to vote next time.
I think since you have quorum, you guys should continue business as usual. You've already sent it out to the whole commission to be able to review. Hopefully everybody is taking advantage of that opportunity. But we can't, keep holding things back, if
For
people aren't on the call. So you have quorum to vote. I would say take a vote. Let's lock it in, get it done, and move forward to the next.
Right. So
Now, if you want to go back and maybe definitely like you're going to vote on it, but you're going to change the language. We can send it out as final look because you changed the language and leave it as that.
for
But you can
sure.
vote on it today.
So just, I agree with that. I got a few other
Sorry.
comments here though, Andy.
Yeah.
Did we have we don't have the exact call for how many pieces of work that we want, right?
Yeah, so I did leave some kind of parameters in there in terms of like specific dimensions for traffic boxes, which I was slightly
I'm
unsure
talking about
about.
how
And
many pieces
yeah,
of
and the actual amount. So I think in the submission guidelines on like the first line, it says count basically up to count traffic box art wraps for
I would say it's
consideration.
two different. So I'm sorry, I'm confused. Are we asking for people to provide some of their old work and then we will select them based off of that? Or are we asking people to design what a traffic box would look like to you and then go from there? Is that what we're doing? Like number two?
They can do either. They can submit a past design that they want to apply to a traffic box, or we wouldn't even know if they did anyhow.
Okay. So then
I left it open
would
for
say
either as well.
I would say up to 2 pieces of art. Because you don't want someone sending you their whole portfolio.
And then my other question,
I don't know.
For us to be able to get to an amount to pay people, we need to know how many are we willing to collect. Because then we're going to pay per submission accepted. So if I'm an artist and I gave one, maybe it's $250, but if I gave two and both are accepted, you're now paying me 500.
So how many to accept total per artist?
No, just how many designs do we wish to accept, period. In other words, out of these submissions, we're going to accept 15, 20 or whatever it is. And then we're going to pay per piece chosen.
Oh, okay. So you're kind of decoupling it from the count of traffic boxes since we may reapply some of them.
That's the way,
Yeah, in
that's
the
the best way
wards.
for us to pay for this, so that,
Exactly.
so like,
That's a great idea.
if, let's say I submit 2 of them and the commission accepts them, then I'm gonna get at $250 a piece, I'm gonna get 500. If Megan submits 3, she's gonna get 750. So we need to pay per design accepted.
I think if
Will
we
there
said,
be,
yeah.
will there
Mhm.
be a space to use one design more than once? Would that be an option?
And that to me would be for us to decide. So if we like a design and it's applicable in more than one word or whatever, then I think we say, hey, we really want this in too, then we're still just going to pay per design, and we get to use it in multiple. If we wish to use it in multiple traffic boxes, then it's our right to do so. So that might need to be thrown into this.
So for example, for a $5,000 budget, if you wanted to get 20 boxes, that would be $250 like stipend per artist. For 10 boxes total, it'd be, 250 would be $2,500. So
Yeah,
that
I mean,
total
I think at
amount
the
something to think
minimal, we
about,
should be
but
offering 250.
right. So I think 5,000 is like a pretty decent amount. We could get 20, and that gives you more than enough to get a box in each ward. We could look at those different high traffic areas. And so that is how, if you look at the total amount of wards, that you get multiple boxes per wards with that amount as well. So if we did 5,000 and we decided to accept 20 wraps, that would be around $250 per accepted design. And then understanding that we may take one design and reapply it more than once, depending on how many total traffic boxes we can afford. So we get up to 20 designs, but we can apply them over however many traffic boxes. I think the one thing we want to make sure, though, is we don't pick out more designs than the total amount of traffic boxes we might, have costed out. So I don't know what your thought was on that, John. If 20 is too much, maybe we should aim more for like 15 or the total amount of wards.
I have to go back to the budget, but we should
Yeah.
decide right now, how many designs do we want to accept? And then if we so choose to use the same design on numerous boxes, that's fine. So it all starts with how many traffic boxes are we going to do? And I thought we had already talked about so many per ward to keep it fair. And then we have the information that was shared with us today to know basically per ward what could be let's say if it's 3 per ward or whatever, what's the top 3 boxes and things like that.
I thought the amount of traffic boxes was going to be dependent on the RFP, and that they were going to basically give us the costs per traffic box as well as look at what fits within the 35K budget.
And my thought is, let's get that done first, so we have that information, and then we'll have a good idea of how much we can spend.
Okay. So you would want to wait until we got stuff back next month, which would
I just
mean
want to be
improving.
prudent with how we're using this money, because
Yeah,
it hasn't been. Yeah, I just think we need to be
for
careful.
sure.
That's my thought, but
How would you feel about, and everyone else, about approving the call for artists, and with the understanding that we might update the funding amount based off of what we select in terms of how many traffic boxes are going to be coming in?
Well, if you're
How many
going
traffic
to,
boxes
if
we're
you're
gonna be able
going
to
to
wrap?
correct some of this wording, are you going to like kind of revise this? Because again, like John said, how many pieces, you need to solidify that amount. How many pieces of art are you going to take from one participant? Is it going to be 2? Or like,
Well, per participants, one thing, I think John was talking about the stipend per person
we
too, or
was
the
talking
total
about
amount of
both.
words.
Yeah.
Yeah. So did you say 2 or 3? I'd be okay with 2 to
I would
3, I
say
think
2
makes
per
sense.
person, but that's
I
up to you.
wouldn't lock yourselves in, only because for all we know, there could be somebody who comes in and has 6 great designs, and then the rest of them are not really good designs, or we didn't get enough
That's a good
people
point.
submitting, because I don't know what to expect from this, quite honestly. And then then we're gonna have that whole discussion. I mean, we want to make sure these look decent, right? So I would just keep it open at this point, because we can always control how many we accept from a given individual. So somebody could submit 6 excellent designs and we only take 2 of them because we want to be fair and spread the love across the other people that submitted adequate designs. Does that make sense?
It makes sense, but then do you want someone, taking their time doing all of this, like 6 different drawings?
That's up to them.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah, I mean, that's up to them. I mean, to me, it's like buying raffle tickets. Do I want to buy 1 or do I want to buy 5?
Okay.
I agree, because of the community and participants and the fact that the stipend's going to be
You're
listed
going to have
up
somebody
front,
that
et
probably
cetera.
wants to spend 100 because this is their
Yeah.
dream project, which is cool.
So
But
the idea would be then just to remove this statement on how many designs may be submitted in terms of the submission guidelines. Is everyone here okay with getting rid of that statement? Does anyone have any additional thoughts?
I mean, if you wanted to put a cap on it, just for the sake of our timing of it, then I'd cap it off at like 10, just to make sure that we, or something of that sort. Making sure, because my concern is if we don't get enough good submissions, we may end up skewing more toward one artist or individual.
Yeah,
Just because
I think
we have to deal with.
I don't see someone submitting over 10. I'd almost be better just to remove it, in my opinion, because
Okay.
I feel like otherwise it's gonna let someone think like, maybe if I submit as many as possible, you know, and maybe that is what we want, is we want them to submit a lot so we have more chance to hit a good design, but it's also more to review.
Be
So
mindful, you guys have to review these. So
yeah,
this is not on me to review and select. This is on the
Right.
commission. So you
Right.
got to be mindful on the participation that, that you receive when you're sending out emails. So everyone has to take a part in selecting this art.
So the best way to do that is either send them to us as we receive them, and we should have some sort of rate, quick little easy rating or what have you, so that we can do this in between meetings or keep it all going. That's my thought. Can we do that?
The
Yeah,
only,
Well, I would prefer
Um,
to like lump them in, like maybe if I get so many at a time, then send it to you, not
Yeah,
one
whatever.
at
Yep.
a time. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
Leo, what was that?
the only design that doesn't take any more work, and not to not pay artists more dollars, but if their design would be used more than once, it could be the original 250 and then like an additional if it's used more than once, but like less than the 250.
That's
It
fine.
could be because it's not extra work, but it's a bonus if it's selected to do that. But if they make two designs, that's two designs.
I'm okay with that. Give
I
them
like the idea too of an additional
another $100
stipend.
if
Yeah.
it gets used more than once.
Okay. Repeat
It
that.
gives a little it gives a little flexibility, like if budget or if I don't
Yeah,
know,
give 'em-
it could be easier to print.
Give them another $100 if we give them 250 for the first time we use, $100 for the second and multiple times that we use.
So just to be clear, just to understand, like make sure I understood this right.
Mhm.
So if Leo, you did an art piece,
Mhm.
we liked it, that one piece, we'll pay you the 250. But if we want to use it a second time, we're going to pay you more money to put it somewhere else.
$100.
The idea was, I think,
Because
to increase the amount paid for impact and where else it goes. Because if it's in multiple wards, then it translates maybe to more impact. And
My thought, just from doing this before, I think, and I know you guys are all artists, when somebody submits a submission, we pay them for it. We paid it for it. And we're able to utilize that how we see fit. If we want to put it on 3-4, we've already paid you the stipend, and we should be able to put that art wherever else we see fit as a commission.
I get that, and I think that's fine. But if someone can submit two different designs and get 500, then it feels. If
But
you
if you
mine,
guys select that person's second piece,
yeah,
that's, if you select somebody's second piece, then yes, pay them that. But, we may want to use that piece on our website. We might want to use it in publication. I don't think, once we pay a fee, that should be it.
So we're gonna need, yeah, and I know what Stephanie's saying. She's saying, wow, I submitted 2 stellar pieces. You only took one, and then you used it multiple times, where you could have taken both and paid me 500 versus what have you. So I just think we need to be clear. We can go either way, but the other thing that just dawned on me, we're going to need some sort of legal, you're going to get with legal on this one, some sort of legal document for right to use that these artists are going to have to sign off on. And
for
the city of Akron-
IP,
Oh, definitely, John. That would definitely come next.
Okay, so City of Akron
but-
should have something already made.
Yeah, because when we did "'Twas the Night Before Christmas," I'm sorry, "'Twas the Night Before" holiday celebration, artists submitted up to 2 to 3 designs, and we paid them for that piece if we chose, and it was in documentation that this now is kind of like ownership between the city of Akron. So if we choose to utilize this art however we see fit, we have the rights to do so because we paid the price
Yeah,
already.
the only thing I would add for that agreement is to make sure that we give the artist credit.
Oh, definitely.
So in that regards, it's the easiest thing to do is just pay one fee up front, period. It's easy, it's even easier accounting wise. So pay one fee up front, period. And And they get the notoriety. That's basically where that lands.
Right. Because their art is going to not only be
You have the same
showcased in one
standard.
spot, it'll be showcased all over.
Yeah.
You know, if that's what you choose to do. If it's one in Wall Haven and one in Goodyear Heights, you know, you'll have all that different type of exposure.
So I think in terms of getting a quorum, the big part here is really just the stipend and how that gets formatted. But what we can do is we can approve everything else and wait for information on the traffic boxes.
Mhm.
Or we could decide on how many pieces we want per ward and just decide on that now. And then we can adjust how many maybe we actually select. That way we have a maximum budget. That makes sense. And then we're spending that or less.
I would go ahead and say how many wards we have, Summer?
There's 10 wards.
10 words. So let's,
I
to me, I say, what did we originally think we were going to do? How many boxes?
don't remember the exact projection based off your estimates. But if we
If you
can
want to
use our
shoot for 20, I
but
would say two
yeah,
2 per ward.
boxes on the busiest intersections, which Mike had submitted. So
Yep.
I would
So
say take a look at that, dive into that document that I submitted to you
yeah.
guys, and
I
you know,
like
you
the
can have
idea of the
conversation around it.
I like the idea of the 5,000 with the 250 being the minimum because I think 250 is a really good standard like stipend amount that I've seen for like similar projects. And you know, that's 5,000 and that's definitely going to fit within what's remaining in our budget plus leave us some money left over for any like for some maintenance projects, etc. So I think 5,000's a good maximum amount. And that would be 2 boxes per ward. So if we agreed on 5,000 as a budget, then we could just say 250 per selected piece and understand
Perfect.
that we're going to select 2 pieces per ward and that we could select pieces that maybe span across wards as well, or that we're slightly flexible in that. So we're not going to agree on how we select the pieces, but then we set a maximum budget for ourselves on the total amount of pieces, which would be 20.
You don't have to break it down to somebody on how you're
So,
going to select their
right.
piece.
But
You
then
can just
we
say,
have an
this is a call
estimate
for
this way.
artists
Yeah.
or a call for the community or participants.
So,
Submit your art.
But I would put in there that we're gonna have 2 boxes per ward because that does give some artistic value or idea. Like, hey, I want to make sure this represents Middlebury, this design. But I'm very comfortable with that. 2 pieces per ward, $250 per selected piece of artwork.
great. I'm on board with the 250 per selected piece of artwork with the understanding that we're going to target 2 per ward. So the maximum budget will be somewhere between 5, maybe at the highest end, like 6, depending on how we select the designs. I don't know if everyone's okay with that. I would like to just leave 250 in there, and then we can just have this done
That's fine.
since we have a
Sorry.
quorum.
Yeah. And Andy, we may need to go over the verbiage a little bit more on this document before we put it out.
Yeah, I changed everything that said artists to participants. I removed the limit, as in like we're not going to say the exact count to submit to leave it open. We're also not going to say 10 so that people aren't submitting like too many for us to be able to like reasonably review. And then the one thing I still have highlighted on here is like the dimensions of the traffic box surfaces, which is something that would need to come probably from like engineering or just actual measurements. So
I
that we
have
have an
all
idea.
of those measurements.
Okay.
I said that before. I have all of the measurements. So what just my recommendation is once we do the call for artists or the participants, you all select who you want, then we can go back to them and have them change the format of whatever box you select for them to have if needed. Now, if the company that you select is able to change the format without pixelating it, then we can utilize the company.
Yeah,
So
I think that
the
makes
first step
sense.
should be put this RFP out, let the artists submit their work, then we select what artists we want, You find out what boxes you want, then we can do sizing. I have all of that breakdown. Once you figure out the size and you say, I want Megan's art on this box, then I can say, this is the sizing for that box. We can go to the company, say, hey, can you digitize this to fit this box without pixelating it? And if they say yes, then great. If not, we'll go back to the artist and say, can you put this in a different format?
I know some like raster images that are really small, it might be hard to blow them up, but it depends on the scan that you're able to get in order to get the level of quality. But I do think that if even with a small piece, you could get a scan that can be blown up out a lot of quality, like loss of quality. So hopefully we're just able to work with the artists on that. And I agree that maybe we just provide that afterwards and we consider what's going to fit on the traffic box well, and the artist can just see the traffic box and have the inherent understanding of like the shape, etc. So I agree with that. So we could just get rid of this line, in my opinion. So I'm gonna go ahead and do that. That makes a lot of sense. I think I updated pretty much everything else. The timeline obviously is something we would have to talk about on when it would open, when the deadline would be, and when the end of the selection process would be.
I would say let's wait to update all this information. Let's finish the
Mhm.
verbiage, make sure everything is up to date within this RFP that we're going to push out. And then based upon when I can push it out, because we would need a press release for it. Once I find that information out, then I can go in and put in the dates. And I can base it off of, like, if we say April 1st, I mean, I think that's a good date. to
Yeah,
push
I
it
thought
to.
this was opens
May
April
1st.
1st, date May 1st is a deadline, and then May 1st to 30th would be the selection process. That's a month for each bit there. So then essentially by the end of May, we would have the selections completed. And that would kind of line up well with probably when we can have work started, whenever the work's going to start, or the contracts completed for the wrap vendor as well. So that was my thought.
I probably would only put in here, I mean, the dates are fine. Let's keep them as is, if that's okay with you guys. But what I would say is call for participants open, submission deadline. We would have to have some type of verbiage letting them know when we will you will be notified by.
Notified by.
Yes. So you can
So
have your
just
selection process from the May 1st to May 30th. And then we would notify, I would take off that last part, the installation of wraps. We would notify you if you've been selected, if your art piece has been selected by
May 30th or
June.
the selection process is May 1st through 30th. So theoretically, we'd let them know by probably whatever the date, like right after the next meeting after that, right? Whatever meetings after, a little bit after whatever meeting scheduled for June.
June 12th.
So would we notify them after June 12th, technically,
I think you may want to have a special meeting if possible.
if possible?
In between. Do you guys really need 30 days to select?
It depends on how much we get.
The
We don't know
process.
yet.
And it also depends on travel schedules and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah. For me, I don't know exactly how busy I'm going to be that month. I have no clue who's going to ask me for a meeting, so I don't know if I'm just going to have time to look at everything.
6 weeks.
Okay. So then do you want to announce who you're selecting at the next meeting in June 12th?
I think that gives us 5, 1, 2, 3. That would give us 4 to 5 weeks or more. So I think that would be better than, we can say the selection process from May 1st to 30th for simplification, but then we'll notify them sometime after the next meeting. So maybe the day after, etc. I don't know exactly how that would go because I know that I'm personally not going to call them to notify them. So that's why I was asking you.
So winners will be selected, you can do something to get people more on this site, right? To watch our meeting.
Sure.
You can say to be announced at the June 12th commission meeting.
we make the decisions beforehand or like agreed, that could be interesting. It could get people on for sure. I like that idea.
And then
I'd say June
installation of
12th for now.
art wraps, I would just say to be determined. We don't have to give a date of when you plan to do it. It will be, in 2024, of course, but we don't have to give a date to the public when they'll be installed. We can put that information up on our website. We can do a press release for it.
Awesome.
People know that
So
the art wraps
I
are
got
going
all
on.
of that updated. So I said notified by approximately June 12th around, and then installation of wraps to be determined. And the rest of the dates I left the same. So I did update artists to say participants, etc. And hopefully the rest of the verbiage is pretty close to where it should be. You might want to put in a summer. I'll send this back out, but if you have the example wrap photo to put in here as well, so that can go on the submittable or etc. so the artist can see. That would be the other thing I think, in addition to the other traffic control box photo I have up. So I know we're running pretty late here. It's almost 5:30. Do you want to get a motion to approve the call for art? Including the $250 stipend and then the general, specifications, knowing that a little bit of the verbiage may be altered.
Yeah, so I motion for the call for art with the pending determination of, so we have what, pending determination of stipend. And we already determined the number of boxes, right? So we should be good.
Yeah, I said 250 for the stipend because
Yeah, and
that's
with
going to
with
put
the
us where we
addition of
want.
stipend of
Yeah.
250 per piece
Yeah.
selected.
I have a question. Quick question. Is this for City of Akron residents only? I think we need to specify that too.
I said representatives. So since Eric made that comment, I didn't go over that change. I said representatives of people who are participants who are representing the neighborhood. Since there may be people who want to submit to represent the neighborhood who may be from the neighborhood or have historical ties to it. But that was my comment. But if someone
I
wants
think
to,
we need to be, Summer, I think we need to be specific to residents of Akron only because we're using
You're the
Quasi
Akron
dollars.
Arts Commission. You're only, you're on the commission because you're a resident in Akron.
Yep.
I think we need to be more specific to, and sorry, my brain is now like do now that we're talking through it, but I think this needs to be a resident of Akron because this is their neighborhood where they're driving through looking at the boxes.
Yeah. So the exact language now is participants from all neighborhoods and communities in the city limits of Akron are encouraged to submit their work. So within the city limits of Akron, I think that's
Wait, I'm lost.
all
Where'd you call for participants?
participants
Right in
from
Akron.
all neighborhoods and communities in the city limits of Akron are encouraged to submit their work.
Andy, right
participants who are
before that, you say
18
the
years of age
surrounding.
or older. Oh,
Andy,
yep.
right before that, you say the surrounding. Yeah.
I got that part now. I got it.
We
Thank
want to
you.
make it to residents of Akron only, right?
Yeah, I think that's my thought. I think it should be Akron residents only.
Yeah, we need to make this Akron residents only. So we need to strike out in the surrounding greater Akron area.
I got rid of that bit.
Yeah, so to Akron residents only. Okay.
This call is open to participants who are 18.
And I said 18, so I guess the other question is really, do we want to have an age restriction on it? Not necessarily, right? Someone doesn't have to be 18 to submit to this necessarily, since it's community and not.
Because you have some high schoolers and middle schoolers
Yeah.
that may have some great work.
I would have submitted to this when I was like 15, so for sure. So I changed it to this call is open to participants who reside in Akron, Ohio. Participants from all neighborhoods and communities in the city limits of Akron are encouraged to submit their work.
No, because then,
Just
you know,
any, sorry, Summer, is
go
there
ahead.
any like law related things around like being 16 and receiving like money from the city or anything? But
I
that's
did.
the only,
No,
I got
okay,
paid from the
then,
city when I was in high school for
then
art.
there you go. Never mind.
it doesn't matter what age you are. I think, you know, someone has some good art, they should be able to submit it. But I would take out the artists representing or creating
I
all
did take that out.
neighborhoods. Yeah, take
I
that
don't know
out.
if my screen's frozen, but I did update all of that. So the whole thing's up. What I just read off is what it says. So I don't know if my screen's updated. I'm sure my screen, right?
Yeah.
Okay. It might be frozen because the guest Wi-Fi here might be bad. So I apologize for that.
So you took off participants from all neighborhoods and
Yeah.
communities in the city
Well,
limits of
well,
Akron.
all neighbor participants from all neighborhoods and communities in the city limits of Akron. That would just be in Akron, wouldn't it? Are we?
I don't I don't know. Like Springfield says Akron. Parts of Fairlawn, I don't know. I think we might be thinking this through too much.
Well, I think
I
just
think
the
just
city
to
limits of Akron. If you're in the
residents,
city limits of Akron,
Just,
you're like an Akron
just
resident, right?
call it out, residents of Akron.
residents of Akron.
You
Just-
know if you're a resident or not. Once
right.
you city limits, people get confused because some people have Akron mailing addresses but are paying taxes.
Okay. Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah, just
I'm
take
just
it
gonna
out.
delete that last sentence.
No, yeah. This call is open to Akron residents only.
Akron residents only. Akron residents only. That's unambiguous. Correct. Does it sound
There you
okay?
go. Right there. Yep. That's good.
I'm okay with that. That's unambiguous, at least. There's no like discussion on what it means.
Right.
Okay.
You got to vote
Okay.
on it and then.
So John did make a motion with the provision that it uses the $250 per selected piece, and I do have it updated here. So we're saying $250 per selected piece, with the understanding that we're gonna do approximately 2 traffic boxes per ward. Could I get a second?
I can second that. So
So I get a second from Megan. Can anyone else who agrees say aye?
Aye.
Aye.
Right. So we have a quorum. So we approve the call for artists. Summer, I'm going to send this out to you. I'm going to save this as a Word doc and PDF and send this out to everybody. I think that is about the last bit. I have to get this Zoom screen thing off my screen so I can use the Zoom really doesn't do a good job letting you move stuff around. All right. The agenda up. We're gonna skip upcoming public art events because it's pretty late, if that's okay with everyone. Maybe hopefully send stuff out if you have anything coming up immediately over email, etc. Reading of public comments. Do we have any public comments, Summer?
We do not have public comments. We do have 14 viewers at this moment. And I think that also fell into review website traffic and discuss ways to get more people to view the website, but we can discuss that at our next meeting. Just to, get it out there that we're here and maybe people will start giving some public comments. And then
sure.
also next meeting, we can talk about, two of you, John and Andy, met with Nicole. Maybe Nicole can come on and present.
I also have some contacts too who are pretty involved in city hall meetings, etc. That can hopefully mobilize a few people to come watch our meetings as well, to get more eyes on our activities. So I'll reach out and see what I can do about getting more people in here as well.
So
would appreciate what everyone else has.
my biggest suggestion, just a quick takeaway on this is that Mayor Malik's doing a really good job at
I agree.
introducing the cabinet, communicating things. And I just think that he would also take that same approach and potentially share with the residents about every commission, including this one. But I think that is one of our best strategies. I don't care about how many people come on this call to listen to this. This is a lot of, it's more about the fact they know that we exist and that we exist for them. So I think that's more important. So I would put and I can do the same. I can put a bug in Mayor Malik's ear about this, but I think from his social media strategy, whoever's doing that, or if I forget what's her name is probably heading it up, that's going to garner
Her
us
name's
the
with
most.
an N.
And I also am getting a meeting with him to kind of
Great.
explain exactly what the Public Arts Commission does, and who's on
Okay.
the Public Arts Commission. So
I would love to be part
that'll
of
be
that
coming up.
meeting.
Okay.
I would
Yeah.
as well. In time. So
Yeah. I'll let you know, you know, when we can get on his calendar.
All right, cool.
Okay. Then I think just in the interest of time, could I get a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
So John moved to adjourn. All in favor, say aye. We're just gonna go.
Aye.
Great. We have a quorum. So it's gonna adjourn the February
Said aye.
14th Akron Public Art Commission meeting.
Who seconded, Andy?
We get a second.
Roberta, I'll second it.
Okay.
So Roberta seconded. So
Yeah. Yeah.
we have a quorum. Everyone else say aye.
Aye.
Right.
Aye.
Great.
Have a
So
wonderful weekend.
Yeah.
appreciate y'all.
Yeah. And Summer, let me know about the meeting with the mayor if I could go too. So yeah.
Yeah, I
Time-wise.
will let
Everybody.
everyone know